Greetings, y'all. This is Fashayo, the Earth Mother of Earth Mother Guidance. So, today the topic is going to be the self. I wanted to talk about this topic because a friend of mine kept kind of saying stuff about the self the other day, and I wanted to do a video around it. So, let's start with it like this. So the way I explain it to people is we start off in a womb inside another person, inside our mothers. When babies are first born, they don't really realize that they're a separate entity from their mothers. They still feel like they're connected, and energetically, I haven't ever asked my doula friends this, but energetically I would say for quite a while they actually are. And so we're not aware of ourselves yet as separate entities. We're not really aware that we're apart from the Great Mother. And so eventually what happens is they start to realize that they're a separate entity. Some ways you can tell that they're not self-aware is things like when they cry. If you've ever had a baby that cried and will pull its hair but it's staring at you like, why are you pulling my hair? Or when they don't really know that their hand belongs to them. They don't have control of it. Some of it is a muscle thing, but some of it is I just don't know that that's my hand. It just smacked me. I don't really get that this is my foot that I'm sucking on, But then at some point they become aware of themselves. That's usually when they kind of go out into the world, or they want to look out into the world. If you are a baby wearer, there's a period of time when they like facing you. And they like being right up against you. There's another time when you start having to turn them out towards the world if they're not napping, because they want to see everything. They want to get down and crawl away from you. They'll come back and check to make sure that you're still there, but they want to go away. That's when they start to become aware of themselves. And then later on, they become aware that they're part of a family and then a community, and it goes out from there. So the reason I want to talk about this today is because a lot of times in our communities, in the black community, I'm gonna use black because apparently some people on my YouTube are not getting when I'm differentiating between Africans here and Africans on the actual continent, in the diaspora or whatever. When I'm making those distinctions, people aren't getting them, so I'll just call us black. Or I'll call us African American or something like that. But a lot of times what we don't get is before we branch out into working with the community and before we get out into revolution and things like that, that's going to be almost impossible to do and to do well until we have a good grip on who we are as individuals. That's just the way things work. I know it's not popular, and I know a lot of y'all aren't going to like it. That's okay. The reason that this is true is because a lot of us don't even know what parts we play in the revolution. Everybody thinks that everybody's supposed to be on the front line, shooting and throwing rocks and, protesting and, all these things. Because a lot of times we don't know what we're good at. We don't know what part we play right inside our families, much less out in the community, much less out in a revolution. So, for instance, I know that I would never be somebody who is out on the front lines with a gun. I'm not scared of guns. Actually, I like weapons, but that's just not my place. I'm first and foremost a healer, so that's what I'm good at. That's what I do. If anything, my part would be you come in either physically, mentally, emotionally wounded, that's me. You need nourishment to heal your body, get you back going, that's me. Some people's part to play in the revolution or, in the community is going to be, and we'll use the revolution again, but their part to play will be to keep us human. A lot of times what people don't realize in the middle of wars, a lot of people lose their humanity. And so you have to do things like you have to still have the musicians, you have to still have the storytellers, you have to still have the artisans, the people who make life beautiful, to remind us that we're human, to remind us of all the different chakras or the levels of development that we have and that we need to be whole people. So another way that this might look is we start off as babies who are, we think that we're our mother. We think not that we're a part of our mother, we think we are our mother. Like we're one being. Another way that we start to be aware of ourselves is with rites of passage. And a lot of people say, well, in Africa they do this. Well, Africa's pretty freaking big, with an unimaginable amount of diversity as it applies to cultures and the way things are done. Nobody does anything the same way. You can call out just about any way of doing things, and there will be some area in Africa that does it that way. But a rites of passage is one way of also helping people to acknowledge and to connect with the self, because of the simple fact that during most that I've heard of rites of passage ceremonies or programs, you are made aware of what path you're to take. What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? Who are you? What did you come here this lifetime to fulfill? What are your natural gifts? Spiritual gifts. What are your natural? Are you able to do things hands-on? Or are you more of a thinker? Are you the one who would be like the philosopher in the family or the group or the community? What is your job? That will help us to actually also bridge the gap between the self and the community, because after you're done with your rites of passage process and then you understand who you are as an individual, now you're able to go into a group, and the group will function better because everybody knows their place and their part to play. It makes all the difference when we all know what we're good at. In my groups or circles, I know what I'm good at. I'm the one who, if somebody's down or, feeling bad, that's me. I'm also the one who I heal with love and laughter. That's my job. That's what I do. I'm also really good at serving. Like, I'm the one who I like serving the place. I like fixing the place. I like, most of the time I enjoy doing the stuff nobody else likes. Like when I was a CNA, I loved being a CNA. I thought it was a good job. I mean, it would have been nice to get paid more, where you can actually eat. That would be nice. But I enjoyed my work. A lot of people look down on it, but I'm a servant. Like, I know that that's how I am. I like serving people. I like helping people. I don't need to be out in front, but I also don't mind being out in front because I'm not shy. I like, give me a microphone, but I know what I'm good at, and I know, kind of what part I play in things like that. And because I know that, I don't feel the need to go into other lanes that are not mine. And I understand that at certain times we have to do things that we're not necessarily comfortable with or the best at, but if you know what you're fabulous at, then you can thrive in that area, and that's where knowing yourself comes in. That's where acknowledgement of the self is so important. And so many times with these different religions and cultural groups, we'll call them to be kind, they want us to be separate from ourselves. They say that being self-aware is the white man's, whatever. And, that we should we're all part of this community. We are part of this community. We're part of the community of the world, to tell the truth, whether we like it or not. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter what group of people you call yourself not liking on the earth, you're going to interact with them in some way, shape, or form. And the faster you realize that, the faster you will realize that you just need to figure out how to do so while protecting your own mental health and your own mental, emotional well-being. But yes, I'm part of a larger community, but because I know I know my part to play, then I can usually do so in peace, even when I have adversity coming at me from said community or group of people, because I know me. It took me a while to get there, but I know me. I'm very self-aware, and so you can't push me out into a place and try to get me to do something that's outside of my giftings. The other thing is, so when we talk about, I know people gonna get mad at me for this, and I hope you just hear what I'm saying. So we have, in our culture, we have 3 major groups, we'll say. We have the people who practice the Kemetic sciences. We have the people who practice more like the West African sciences. And we have the people who practice the American indigenous sciences, meaning for us, it means like the root workers, the conjurers, and things like that, meaning that they brought all these things and they mix it really with the stuff that the plants and things that were here, made it worked with the Native Americans a lot of times, mixed their stuff together, and that's how we got the root workers and the conjurers. This is another way that we have to become more aware of the self. So many times I see people skip over the, we'll call them the root workers. They skip over the West Africans, and then they go straight for Kemet. The reason a lot of us do that is because, the Kemetic sciences are kind of implied to be the smartest. They're implied to be the most, the smartest, the most advanced, and keeping it honest, keeping it real. Most of the first images that we had of Kemet are of light skin or white people. So quiet as kept, a lot of y'all, the first draw y'all had was that they were black, but they didn't look black. And I ain't saying everybody, but I'm saying, let's be honest, the first pictures that you ever saw of them were not of people that were the color of my shirt. And yeah, that's how they looked, but that's not the first images that you saw. So a lot of times I wonder, why are you so pulled to a culture that you can't speak its language? It's a dead language for the most part. You're not connected to that in any way, shape, or form. Because most of us, now I know that we were all over the world, but most of us were, our immediate ancestors, not there, So, but we'll skip over everybody else and go straight to Kemet. Well, some of us have started to come back and say, you know what? Let me start studying the West African sciences, which for me, the one I'm calling off the top of my head is Ifa from Nigeria. Because that's closer. Those people look like us. We can see pictures of those people living right now. We can still, learn from what's going on from them right now. We can still have a living culture to look at right now. So that's even better, right? Well then, because we talking about the self, we talking about starting from the root. If you skip over Big Mama now, if you skip over your mothers, your great-grandmothers, those root workers who came here, the root workers who survived in order that you might live, the ones who really are your base, the ones whose bones and blood that we trod over every time we take a step on this land, then I would have to say that in a broader sense, you have to ask yourself, are you actually self-aware? Or are you rejecting that part of yourself? If you are able to step over the roots that we created here for survival that worked, if you are able to step over those healers and conjurers and, women, who chanted late into the night, who took heads for their babies, lives and things like that, because you done took my baby, I'm taking your head. Those women who fought back, if you're able to step over them even, and you got to step over to West Africa, that even for me is saying that you're not self-aware, because there's still a part of yourself that you're ashamed of. It's still a part of your yourself that you're not willing to accept. There was a sister in a group that I was in. I think she lived up north somewhere, but anyway, she was traveling south to heal herself. She was traveling south to heal herself because she had such a hatred for the South, and I think certain things that happened to her when she lived here, as a child or whatever, and it just, stuck with her. That hurt stuck with her. She came back south to, basically face up and do some healing work and, feel her way through her past as it related to us in the South. And she came out of it healed, because she didn't have to turn her back to those, the people who did what they could for her. No, we didn't do everything right, with our immediate ancestors here in America. No, they did not do everything right. We can sit here and argue all day about, well, they shouldn't have never took the Bible. They shouldn't have never, taken on Christianity. At the end of the day, these people was trying to live, or whatever. But it's like to step over them. To step over them is denying yourself. To step over them in the work that they did, and the fact that we're still here because of they did. And I'm not talking about we still here in America. I'm saying that we're still here living and getting better and better and better because of the steps that they've taken. Because I know I wouldn't want my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, however many generations off, to not think of me, even if they never met me, to not ever read my journals, to not ever, I don't know if YouTube is, it probably has something else by then, but to not ever look at videos of me talking and teaching, because they want to skip over me and all that I have done to try to pave a way for them. They want to skip over that and do something that's a little smarter and more acceptable. And the thing is too, I think a lot of us, when we look at slavery, we want to think of how ignorant our ancestors sounded, and they did whatever they had to do, call them house niggas and stuff like that, and we want to skip over them because they're not acceptable, because their story is not pretty. The truth of it is, nobody's story is pretty. If it was pretty, it wouldn't be a good story. My story ain't pretty. I got some real janky stuff in my story. But that's what makes me freaking amazing now, is because I went through all that stuff and I still came out. And I still came out stronger and better. And I came out willing to tell my story so that other people can heal. And that's what makes a good story. So anyway, it's just that I want us to start looking at the self. Take it up through your chakras. Look at each chakra and work on each one. And when you do that, the thing that people forget a lot of times too is once you get up here and you're so deep and you're so elevated and you float when you walk and you got this white glow around you, whatever. Okay. Don't forget that you still need your lower chakras. A lot of us are actually very disconnected from the bottom two chakras, and it's not working for us. So it's kind of like we have to understand that, because I hear people talk about, your lower nature, you shouldn't be. Man, listen, your lower nature and higher nature are just two sides of the same coin. You need both of them. Let somebody come over there and start talking stupid to you, see which nature you pull out. Let you be hungry. You gonna call it a fast? No, you gonna go find something to eat. Why? Because that root chakra gonna start saying, that fast was cute, but we need to eat. So understand that you're a whole being. You're a whole being within yourself, and you're a whole being as it pertains to the world. I am my mama's child. I'm also myself. I'm also a part of my family, my community, my nation, my race, and the world. I'm all of those things. And because I'm willing to embrace me as all of that, that's what makes me a goddess. That's what makes me the great mother. That self-awareness is also, when it starts with the self-awareness, then I'm able to fully encompass everything that comes with it. So I just want y'all to, take some time to explore the self. Take some time to explore the benefits of really tapping into the self. And don't let anybody ever tell you that it's selfish, that this is something that you just don't worry about yourself. You're a part of a greater. Okay. Let them fool you if you want to. Those will be the same ones that have you giving up everything in your life, for everybody else. And then you sitting there high and dry, can't figure out why you don't have what you need. You have to get the self-preservation and the self-love components down. You have to get down. You have to get the self-preservation, self-love, and the really self-knowledge. Who are you? What is it that you're good at? What are your talents? How do your emotions work? And do that. You have to get to a point where you clean up all the stuff you've been told about yourself. Because that's the hardest work, is figuring out how you are, just you, not with what you've been told about yourself. You know what I'm saying? I used to be really, really, really mean. But I decided, wait, this doesn't work very well for me. Now I decided over time, and I worked on it over time, but I had a horrible temper. I still got it in my back pocket if I need it, because like I said, I don't get rid of the lower nature. I just keep her, we interact when we need to. But it's me knowing myself, knowing what works for me, knowing what makes me feel good, knowing what makes me blissful, knowing what makes my life abundant. Those are the things that you want to connect with. Those are the things that you need to know about yourself to really not only survive but thrive. Now, let me go back to the spiritual aspect. I'm not telling you that you can't practice the Kemetic sciences. I'm not telling that you can't practice the West African ones. I'm not telling you that you only have to practice the root stuff that we learn here. But what I'm telling you is don't do it because you don't understand that they all encompass you. Don't reject it because somebody told you that one was stupid and less evolved than the other, because they're not. They're all different legs on the path. There's a lovely sister. She don't even feel like her spirit is connected to Africa at all. She feels like that this is where her spirit has always been, up and down the Americas. And when she told me that, my first knee-jerk reaction was, oh, how could you say that? And then I thought about it. But y'all always saying we come from everywhere, so why wouldn't it make sense that somebody would feel connected just to the Americas? So she has learned herself. She is self-aware. She doesn't feel pressured to go along with the community because we all call ourselves African, That's not where she connect. But she doing the work. She's doing the work. And it's working. So clearly what she's doing is working. So anyway, self-love, self-preservation, knowledge of self. Okay? Thank y'all so much for watching. This is the Earth Mother of earthmotherguidance.com. Love y'all. Odabo.